my frogs, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're starting a new fic called Smooth Criminal by SpiraPhantom on AO3. It is actually one of three fics in this thing called the Moonwalker AU, which is basically what if Demon Slayer and My Hero Academia were just like in the same universe. And this fic in particular it has 3,598 words. Also, quick thing, in case you notice something real quick, you might see that the thumbnail is a bit different. That's because the art is by SpiraPhantom, and don't worry, I got their permission in advance to use their art for the covers, since they're pretty cool covers. Anyway, let's not waste time and get into it. Summary. How many quirkless people do you need to upset society? Just one. Breaking news! Hinokami, the one and only Quirkless Hero of Japan, has just murdered the HPSC President for seemingly no reason. The new president, Kibutsuji Muzan, swears to bring the rogue hero to justice. At least, that's the story told to the public. The truth is a bit more complicated than that. Let's get into it then. Breaking news! We interrupt our regularly scheduled program for an important message from the Hero Public Safety Commission. As reported in an urgent message from the commission, Chihira Nori, the commission's fifth president, has been found dead in her office in Chiyoda ward of Tokyo. Based on video evidence, we can identify the perpetrator has been established as that of Sugikuni Yoriichi, better known as Hinokami, the Quirkless Hero, number 3 hero of Japan. The wounds on the late president's body are stated to correspond to Hinokami's signature support item, katana. We've just received word that the interim president of the Hero Public Safety Commission, Kibutsuji Muzan, is about to make an official statement on the matter. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the press. It is a distressing situation for the commission, and there's a lot of work still to be done, so I will keep it brief for everyone's sake. On August 5th, 2169, Sugikuni Yoriichi, better known as Hinokami, met up with the late commission president Chihira in her office for a discussion we cannot yet explain. The cameras outside her office showed him leaving in an unhurried manner. As you can see on the screen, her body was found over 30 minutes later by professional license exam overseer Yokimiru Mera, who had a meeting scheduled with her. That is a sad fact of the matter. Between the injuries Madam President suffered and the video evidence we possess, Hinokami's guilt is transparent. Unfortunately, the man has escaped our detection and currently remains at large. This is the reason for the conference to begin with. We, the Hero Public Safety Commission, have preemptively declared Hinokami a villain at large and ask citizens to notify proper authority if you know anything regarding his location. We do not know his motives as of yet, and it makes him unpredictable. Rest assured, though, he will be secured. You may ask your questions. As far as the public is concerned, there have been no witnesses to Madam President's murder. Wing Hero Hawks, number 8, or rather number 7 of Japan now, the youngest in the top 10 rankings, knows better than that. Unfortunately, he's not the only one, and that's exactly why he's been called to the office for the newly inaugurated 6th president of the Hero Public Safety Commission. The president's office has been cleaned up in the time since the murder. It is still a formal, not too big-looking room, with a view opening up onto Chiyoda, a ward from the large window. There are dozens of floors between him and the ground, and it's a cosmic joke that only birds could have witnessed the crime that has been committed within these walls. Kibutsuji Muzan sits behind the desk with a blank expression, looking at the young man in front of him while twirling a red feather between his fingers. The same type feathers Hawks carries in his luxurious wings as part of his quirk, fierce wings. In fact, what Commission President and Kibutsuji is holding is the exact same feather Chihira Nori had on her person at the time of death, which granted Hawks a look into what actually happened. The door behind the young man closes, and Hawks and Muzan's secretary, who prevents Hawks' leave. The long secretive Kokushibo. The secretive Kokushibo. The man in a black suit with long spiky black hair with red tips, kept in a ponytail. No one would think twice about him. What the 3 pairs of sunglasses covering his 6 eyes, but now that Hawks knows. The cameras outside only caught the back of Hinokami as he retreated, never getting a clear picture of his face, and with his build and hair arranged like that, put on Hinokami's hero suit with its traditional inspirations, and the secretary's passing resemblance to the man becomes uncanny. Such peculiar things. President Kibutsuji hums, twirling the feather in his hands, red eyes not leaving Hawks' figure for a moment. The young man almost feels naked under the glare. Some people with a genetic lottery like you, Hawk-san, flight at super speed, telekinetic control of detachable pieces of yourself which can be used as weapons. Muzan's neutral expression glows in the dark and dissatisfied. Extrasensory ability through such detachable pieces. The man pointedly snaps the feather in his grasp. Hence, Hawks can't help with a slight wince from feedback he receives. The president's face doesn't change. All from a singular quirk. He continues tilting his head. The man is even more severe in person than what the nation witnessed on TV, making Hawks feel uneasy. While some people get nothing. Kibutsuji Muzan is many things. A charismatic politician, a cousin of the chairman of Kimetsu Hero Academy, which caused both their fair issues, and an accomplished chemist and biologist with a degree to show, oddly enough. He's also the most influential quirkless person in recent histories. As Hawks sees it now, not entirely content with it. So, the blonde hero drawls, putting on his usual cheery persona. You really got lucky with your predecessor in reaching such an unfortunate fate, didn't you? Might as well get to the point, Mr. President. Muzan narrows his eyes. Indeed, the man nods. You see, Hawk-san, despite your unfortunate knowledge, you're a treasured human resource of the Commission, and I'd hate to see that hard work of my predecessor wasted. I'd like to put you to good use and offer you a deal. Muzan presses a button on the touch screen implemented within his desk. A hologram screen unfolds between Hawks and the president with a light flick of a finger, and Muzan puts something into the console. Have you heard of the rumors of a man on the dawn of quirks who can give and take quirks at will? The president hums, and the video pictures and diagram unfold onto the screen. It was a story that has always intrigued me. Hawks goes cold inside, and more than a bit sick. What Muzan shows him is much worse than a political assassination order in order to remove a rival and stand at the top of the commission. Hawks sees distorted bodies, records of gene tampering, and to isolate the quirk factor, and force several quirks to coexist in a single body, quite often distorting it until its shape barely resembles human. Even worse, he's seen those specimens sporting familiar red wings protruding and growing grotesquely out of their blackened flesh. The implications make the hero more ill the more he thinks of them. Being a person of special interest to the Commission, your DNA present in our database was researched extensively and proved bountiful in our research project, aimed to make that old tale a reality, and a miracle triumph of science. Muzan continues, casually, as his disregard for those people is almost sickening as the act itself. But we can only do so much while keeping in the delicate nature of the research out of the public's eye. My deal is this. You assist us in finding candidates for our work among the criminal elements of society. Of course, that and you keep your wits about what happened in this room a few months ago. I don't see what I'm getting out of this, Hawks replies, slowly tensing. However, as he he can feel Secretary Kogoshibo tensing behind him, and both his instincts and knowledge of the previous president's murder Tell him to not underestimate the man just because he looks like an office worker. Muzan tilts his head slightly, red eyes peering into the hero's soul. Your meteoric rise to the top of the rankings will continue to retain all the privileges of my predecessor granted you, Muzan states, once again with a blank expression on his face. Of course, you're free to attempt to make the knowledge of this project public, but aside from losing what you've had, Takumi-san, you'll be implicated along with us as a primary donor who now is in the know of the project. Hawks keeps the shiver from the use of the surname he's forgotten a long time ago. Cultural norms dictate that sons carry on the sins of his fathers, and the knowledge of Hawks' relations with his past will impact his life in the worst ways. Now, not as bad, though, as the implication of being a willing participant in Kibutsuji's monstrous experiments. In your case, an attempt such, we'd proceed to your most direct assistance with the project. Muzan continues, expression darkening as he folds his hands in front of himself, and he does not say what is pointedly written on his face. Just try, and we'll use you as a specimen instead. The blonde hero is unsettled, yet his muscles tighten. He feels the cold metal blade at the back of his neck before he can make a break for it. Kokushibo's free hand and fists a younger man's messy hair. Hawks is genuinely shocked at the speed, not even able to perceive. Is that the man's quirk? Muzan doesn't even blink at that, completely confident in Kokushibo's ability when faced against one of the strongest heroes of this generation. Don't push your luck, Hawk-san, the secretary says in a low tone, holding a katana with a light purple sheen to it against the hero's throat. Muzan-sama's offer is extremely generous. Don't repeat Hinokami's error in judgment. Since Hawk entered the room, everything that followed had only been an illusion of choice, as pretty much Hawk's entire life has ever been was recruitment by the commission president, and Kibutsuji smile was at the realization in Hawk's eyes, and folds the hologram screen between them. Kokushibo pulls the katana back, and the hero makes note of how the man folds into its handle until it isn't larger than a gun. It puts it into his jacket's inner pocket. I'm glad we found a common ground, Muzan hums. Suddenly, Kokushibo is right next to the man with a cup of steaming tea, and Hawks is both unsettled and confused at how quickly the man works. The president nods and takes the cup. Just why all that? Hawks forces out. The president takes a sip, taking a pause before replying. You see, Hawks-son, the one thing I hate is change. Every change in circumstances, in most cases, degradation, it is decline. Change of human genetics, quirks, ruined the world once upon a time. Hero rankings always change. Heroes always change. Muzan explains before taking another sip. Even All Might is not getting any younger. And what happens when the status quo changes and the symbol of peace is no longer there? A societal decline and a loss of hope. You must understand that, Hawk-son. Kokoshibo is suddenly there with a plate of chocolate cookies, and the president doesn't hesitate to take one, savoring it with his tea. Hawks is more confused, staring at the secretary, and only just concentrating to pay attention to the president's speech. The one thing I like is permanence. If something doesn't change for an eternity, it is in a perfect state. The man continues. Imagine, if you will, a standard of enforcement with a perfect arrangement of quirks, with us possessing the capability to produce new members of such a force at a moment's notice. It is preferable to the current variety of suboptimal heroes. Muzan scoffs, but then smiles once more. The current hero system will do for now, though. Though he had his doubts about the previous president, Hawks can definitely say the current one is completely off his rockers. The winged hero dreads the day the new boss succeeds. The bell rings as the door of the antique shop opens. A visitor! Welcome to Komodo's Relics. The small shop's kindly manager, Kamado Sumiyoshi smiles even wider when he sees the familiar green head peeking into the neatly organized space, full of various ancient trinkets on display. A part-time worker is wiping the shelves, but the green eyes don't keep on the man for long. Ah, Midoriya-kun, come in, come in. Good afternoon, Kamado-san. The kid in a gakuran, fresh from school, bows after closing the door carefully behind him. How's your wife? I saw the shop was closed yesterday. Did she? Suyako's doing well. The pregnancy went through well, and I'm a father. And yes, I'm a father now. The man laughs, tearing up in joy. My brother's family has been visiting on weekends to me. Little Sumiri. She's so cute. I'm rambling though, I'm sorry. Aren't I? Sorry, Midoriya-kun. No, it's all right. No, it's all right, Kamado-san. I didn't ask. The boy shrieks. But you didn't come in here for that, did you? Sumiyoshi grins before pulling a case from under his desk. I've got just the thing you've been looking for. It isn't really my profile, but I had the opportunity and found exactly the thing you mentioned. It's rare these days. What Sumiyoshi pulls up is a case with an action figure inside. The eyes of 11-year-old Midoriya Zuko light up and shine. Inside the package is an action figure of a man who can easily be mistaken for a pre-Quirk era wandering samurai with with traditional clothes and a red haori and a black uniform under it that might have been a military outfit in days long past, a button-up jacket with a white belt and hakama pants wrapped tightly around his calves, with white samurai leggings. There's also an orange sash with black edges going diagonally under his haori. The figure is very detailed, showing the man's maroon eyes and red tips of his long, spiky hair kept in a ponytail. However, it's the signature Hanafuda earrings, the simple katana sheath, and the unmistakable flame-like mark on his forehead that makes the figure recognizable. The figure stand has the kanji imprinted on it, Hinokami. After being denounced by the Hero Public Safety Commission, Hinokami remains Zuko's second favorite hero after All Might himself, despite not being as personable, as warm and inviting as a symbol of hope. Hinokami was quirkless, and so was Zuko himself. The fact the man was able to become a pro-hero makes the boy believe that he too can become a hero, even if his classmates and most people in general doubt him. Honestly, I didn't expect any of these to remain outside of private collections, Sumiyoshi chuckles. So, what do you say, Midoriya-kun? You think you can spare money for this one? Yes, please! Midoriya immediately nods his head rapidly, getting the shop owner to laugh at the enthusiasm as he goes for the cash register. Both Zuko and Sumiyoshi jump at the sudden rumble as the part-time worker casually lifts an entire shelf of relics to wet the dust from under it. The man seems to feel their eyes and turn around. I wanted to clean behind it, he says quietly. You didn't have to do all that, the manager replies with a nervous laugh, but ultimately waves it off. Now that he looks at him, Zuko finds it odd that the worker wears sunglasses indoors. There's something familiar about his face and long wavy hair. Midoriya pays for the newest acquisition to his merch collection and is about to put it in his backpack when his great eyes focus on the figurine and the detailed face of Hinokami. Then he glances back at the part-time worker and looks closely at the man whenever his face turns away. The boy vibrates a bit from the thought in his head. Is everything all right, Midoriya-kun? Sumiyoshi asks, tilting his head. Yes, Izuku shrieks, shoving the action figure into his case in his backpack. He remembers that Sumiyoshi and his wife were once saved by Hinokami. What are the odds that they're a grateful couple housing their hero? Maybe you should get home, Midoriya-kun. Your mother will get worried, the manager says softly, and Izuku nods, turning around and slowly going towards the door. As he grabs the handle, Izuku stills. The boy clenches his eyes shut and gathers what bravery he has and turns towards Sumiyoshi and the mysterious part-time worker who approached the manager. Is that Hinokami-san working for you, Kamado-san? There's a squawk behind him, and Izuku turns around to see Sumiyoshi coughing and sweating bullets, while the part-time worker turns towards the kid. Oh, they did declare Hinokami a villain, but while Izuku hasn't believed it since, why would one of the heroes turn around like that? He's only just considering that he might be in danger. I'm so dead. I'm so dead. I'm so dead right now. I'm sorry, Mom. Sorry, Kachan. I hope you inherit all my collection. Why, of course not, Midoriya-kun. Why would you think so? Sumiyoshi strains his face. Does that funny thing when the man tries to lie. Because he's very bad at lying. Very bad. The part-time worker hums. A kid did in minutes what the entire commission can't for months. Sumiyoshi gives a high-pitched squeal as the worker, or rather, Sugikuni Yoriichi pulls down his sunglasses and looks at the shade with an absent expression. Then the man toward the manager. You were right. I should have taken one of your Haitoko masks. Yoriichi! Izuku vibrates with excitement. That really is Hinokami, and he's not a murderous maniac like his imagination conjured up for a moment. The student steps back from the door and runs up to the adults. Yoriichi's maroon eyes peer down at the boy emotionlessly. Words! Izuku puts the pieces together, with the makeup to cover his eyes, dark hair dye to cover the red tips, and glasses to cover his eyes, in an entirely different getup from his usual traditional clothes and a ponytail Hinokami wore on and off duty. Sugikuni Yoriichi can be very unremarkable. You're very perceptive, Yoriichi states, and Izuku is about to drop dead right there from getting complimented by one of the heroes. The only thing would be better would be meeting All Might. Thank you, Hinokami-sama. He squeaks. It's just Yoriichi, the man says quietly. Midoriya-kun, please, you can't tell anyone you saw Yoriichi here, Sumiyoshi frets, and Izuku immediately shakes his head furiously to the other elites. Of course you won't tattle on the man. You didn't kill the president, did you? The boy asks. Yoriichi's expression doesn't change. I might as well have. Yoriichi. The boy. Sumiyoshi sighs, softly putting a hand on the man's shoulder. Then he turns around towards the kid with a serious expression. No, Midoriya-kun, he was framed. I shouldn't say more because I don't want to endanger you, but just know he is innocent, and again, please do not spread it. Don't even mention he's in Usutafu. I won't, Kamado-san, the boy swears. For a moment, Izuku thinks and chews on the bottom of his lip. Sumiyoshi seems to sense the boy's discomfort and leaves the counter to put a hand on his shoulder. Is something the matter, Midoriya-kun? Something on your mind? The shop owner asks gently, and Izuku looks up to see the man's gentle dark red gaze. Izuku looks at Yoriichi, who has already put his shades back on and started wiping off the counter. The man notes the boy's attention and doesn't stop in his motions. Yoriichi-san, do you think I can become a hero? He asks shyly. I don't see why you can't. Sumiyoshi then turns towards his friend with a slight wince. From the odd friendship he and Izuku have fostered, and Sumiyoshi knows how other children are less kind to him, and because of his lack of quirk. Yoriichi, Midoriya-kun is because I'm quirkless, sir. That gets Yoriichi to stop and hum curiously. I can see it in your eyes. You seem to think I'm someone special, but I'm not, the man says, that same emotionless way through. There's no doubt in the conviction behind those words. Quirks are a powerful tool, but they don't define a person, nor do they define a hero. They're a talent, and a day comes where someone will come with a talent greater than yours. You might as well be someone whose talent will surpass mine. But I have no knowledge of that. Sumiyoshi rubs Izuku's green bushy hair as the boy tears up at the hero's tempered, but nonetheless warm words of encouragement. Yoriichi returns to wiping the counter. Start with morning runs and an exercise routine to work up your muscle, the man says, and Izuku beams with this excitement. Will do. Thank you, Yoriichi-san, Kamado-san. I have to go. The excited boy is still crying from the overwhelming emotions, runs to the exit of the antique shop and waves its two employees goodbye before disappearing. When the door accidentally slams behind him, one of Sumiyoshi's important vases falls, and the manager can't help but cover his eyes because he can't reach it in time. However, it never breaks against the floor. Quiet like a shadow, Yoriichi is already at the shelf, making sure the vase doesn't stand on the edge of it. Sumiyoshi breathes out in relief. You do understand he's going to come back, the man asks, returning to the cash register and giving his friend a glance. Yoriichi replies with a noncommittal hum. Sumiyoshi can't help his fond smile before glancing towards the window and Izuku's running figure disappearing towards the difference. Well, it'd be nice to see a new Quirkless Hero around. Notes. I spent too much time on this work. It gave me an idea for a Kimetsu Academy x My Hero Academia crossover that went out of control. Well, sorry for saying it was a Kimetsu no Yaiba crossover. It was a crossover between My Hero Academia and the spin-off series, which is still amazing, and I really recommend reading it. Anyway, back to the notes. Despite me only knowing My Hero Academia from fics, including a good series of character reacting to anime, so I know my canon somewhat, I have a whole thread on that crossover AU. Yes, the title is an MJ reference. Anyway, Anyway, guys, so that is Smooth Criminal, and frankly, I really enjoyed this fic, and it has a grand total of 3 parts in the series that I will be reading more, and the thumbnails for this series are not made. Once again, they're not made by me. They're made by SpiraPhantom, and again, the link in the description links back to the original fic, so please go and just leave some appreciation for SpiraPhantom. This is a pretty good fic, and I'm intrigued to see what happens next.